Welcome to Crime Beat. I'm Anthony Robart.
Tonight, over the course of 19 months, 5 women mysteriously vanish from BC's southern interior. The families of Caitlin Potts, Ashley Simpson, Deanna Wirtz, Tracy Generous, and Nicole Bell are all on edge as police hone in on a suspicious property. Could answers be found on this land?
They asked for DNA, and it took some time because apparently they had many body parts that they had to test to figure out if it was more than one person.
Of course, that thought is like, oh my God, is this going to be Deanna? Like, it's so close to her place. It's like, it's got to be.
We don't have a body, so we can't talk like she's dead. Till I have a body, I want to hang on to some hope.
If you were to take a compass string and move it around to where all the women lived, they all lived within a circumference of that.
There's something going on in that community. There's something evil in that community. People don't speak there. People don't talk there.
Here now is Jules Knox with part 2 of the Secrets of Salmon River.
Deep in a remote region of BC's southern interior, more and more officers arrive at a 24-acre property on Salmon River Road. Police remain tight-lipped about what they have and have not found.
We're not getting any answers from anybody, so it's pretty horrendous. We called them and said, like, it's very traumatic for us. My wife is working, she's on a container ship, and she wants to know what's going on, and does she have to get off, and do we have to go get our daughter, you know, just things like that. So it's tough.
I just want my daughter. It's too close to home.
There is speculation the search is related to an incident in late August that happened close to here. A prostitute arranged to meet a client. At the rendezvous, police say the man threatened the woman with a gun. The suspect description roughly matching the description of a man who lives on the search property.
Kind of a slight guy and blonde hair, I believe.
Curtis Wayne Sagmoen is in custody, charged with 6 offenses stemming from the attack on the sex trade worker. Police also not saying if the search relates to the prostitute attack or something else.
Deanna Wirtz, the 46-year-old barefoot hiker who vanished, lives near the Sagmoen property. Her siblings say they find out about the police search through Facebook.
I had a complete breakdown. I called Alana because I was at work, and she followed up on it to try and get some answers on what was going on.
I wasn't contacted. And yeah, of course that thought is like, oh my God, is this going to be Deanna? Like, it's so close to her place. It's like, it's got to be.
His property is, when I was helping put up the fence, his property is right there. Like, I can throw a rock to it.
I think I phoned the officer and said, hey, like, I heard this is like near Yankee Flats Road, where Deanna was, like, what's going on? They kind of just briefly tell you, and they say, but there's no connection. You're like, oh, okay. But you're just like, well, maybe Deanna's there. Like,
do you think that police should have warned you or let you know that before you found out on the news?
Yes, I do. I think we should have been given the heads up for sure.
I'm still angry. We're grieving families, we're searching for answers. We don't need to find out this way.
The last known woman to have disappeared is Nicole Bell, a mom of 3. She vanishes less than 2 months before police start scouring the Sagmoen family farm.
Her phone was found on 20th Avenue, and when you go to where 20th Avenue is, it's about 10 minutes away from the Sagmoen farm.
To have her missing totally for 18 months, you know something's happened to her. So we hope that maybe it's not a body in the ground somewhere. Maybe we hope that she's still held captive somewhere. Maybe she's held in the prostitution ring or in human trafficking somewhere. You got to have hope until there's no hope. So if she's there, then we bring her home. If she's not there, then we wait.
We don't have a body, so we can't talk like she's dead. Till I have a body, I want to hang on to some hope.
The farm on Salmon River Road continues to be the epicenter of this investigation. Now, this is a monster property, 24 acres in size, and RCMP are going through it meticulously. What looks like a piece of clothing was uncovered on the slope at the back of the property near the creek yesterday. And then bucket by bucket, police spent hours sifting through the dirt today looking for evidence. Sources say RCMP put surveillance equipment, listening devices in the grass about 5 minutes up the hill from this location. A week after that operation, they moved in with a search warrant.
On Thursday is my regular day for updates. Well, they said that they had nothing further, but they needed to take the DNA sample for the file because it's becoming a ongoing long-term missing persons, and that's just procedure so they can compare them with whatever.
The RCMP Southeast District Major Crimes Unit and the Vernon North Okanagan RCMP confirmed on October 21st that human remains were located on this property here as a result of an ongoing search.
It took some time because apparently they had many body parts that they had to test to figure out if it was more than one person. You don't want that phone call. You don't want that visit to say, yes, we've confirmed.
Oh, it's unnerving. You were waiting because they didn't know who it was. And yeah, of course that thought is like, oh my God, is this gonna be Deanna? Like, it's so close to her place. It's like, it's gotta be. In one sense, you don't want her to be there, but in the other sense, you're like, it'd be nice to find her.
To realize that there's all these other missing women in the area, that some of them I wasn't even aware of.
There are still very few answers. No word on a suspect, no word on when those human remains here will be identified or when we will find out if those remains belong to one or more than one victim.
I think it's hard to look at the Sagmoen farm and it's the findings there and to not have thought, is this going to be another case of multiple victims such as we saw at the Picton farm?
Serial killer Robert Picton is believed to be responsible for murdering nearly 50 women on his pig farm in a suburb of Vancouver, many of them Indigenous. In 2007, he's convicted for the second-degree murder of 6 women.
What happened on that farm, that is a legacy and a history that will never disappear for Indigenous people because of the wrongs, and the way that the state or Canada handled that. And that was the immediate thing that I thought, when I heard it, was here we go again. Hearing that somebody's human remains were discovered, on our lands was nothing short of terrifying. Is this something, that they've done a copycat thing to Picton? Do the women here, do we have something to worry about? Is there a serial killer out there?
Coming up, police identify the human remains on the Sagmoen farm. Is it one of the known missing women or somebody else? That's next. After police make a grisly discovery on the Sagmoen family farm, 5 sets of parents fearfully await DNA results to learn if it will be their daughter who is confirmed dead. We return now to Jules Knox with the Secrets of Salmon River.
The land grows cold as a blanket of white snow falls near the Salmon River. Any remaining evidence in the earth frozen in the ground. But police have enough DNA to identify the teen who was found on the Sagmoen family farm.
We're concerned for Tracy that she's gone. We're hoping that, she's still alive, she's still out there. No, this is not her. My son told me, and I did not believe him. I said, no, you need to give me that cop's number. I'm calling him because I don't believe you. And he said, yes, we have confirmed it's your granddaughter. Whew. And yeah, I kind of lost it a little bit. It was tough.
No charges have been laid with respect to Tracy Generous' death. Her death at this time is being considered as, or qualified as, suspicious in nature.
I just don't want to understand why. I mean, Tracy was a bubbly person. I don't understand how anyone could have the heart to actually take her life. I can't fathom it.
The RCMP will not say if Sagmoen is a suspect in Tracy's case. Her sister says the police should have done more.
I've seen missing people go missing before, and I've seen helicopters and actual work being put out there to find the girls or people missing. There was no helicopters out there looking for Tracy. There was no, just stopping hookers on the street and asking if you're Tracy is not really looking for her. And to know that she was only a half an hour away to an hour on that farm for God knows how long. We don't even know if she tried to escape.
It was trying to establish a timeline of Tracy's activities starting from the last date that she was last heard from in Vernon.
She texted me at about 9:30 that night asking for a telescope because I bought her a telescope last Christmas because she likes to look at the stars.
For her to be going to get a scope to look at the stars, going up to her mom's, going back to her dad's, and this happened in between that. Nobody knows the in-between.
Tracy is last spotted in downtown Vernon on May 29, 2017. On that same day, Curtis Sagmoen is pulled over in Vernon half an hour from his home. He's ticketed for a lack of taillights and headlight infractions.
Did police have body cameras or recordings at that time?
I'm not aware that we had body cameras, that RCMP had any body cameras in 2017. So I don't believe that there would have been that sort of evidence.
So you don't know if Tracy was with Curtis Sagmoen when he was pulled over?
I do not know.
As yellow tape surrounds his family farm and detectives scour the property for evidence, Curtis Sagmoen sits in jail. He's been arrested not for murder, but for that run-in with a sex trade worker, charged with disguising his face, recklessly shooting a gun, uttering threats, and possessing meth.
Our investigators believe that there are other unreported incidences and other victims that have not come forward to date, or other witnesses that have knowledge of other incidents. So we're hopeful people will come forward.
More women do step forward. Sagmoen is accused of attacking an escort in a suburb of Vancouver in 2013.
He was described in Maple Ridge as trying to hammer a sex trade worker.
Curtis Sagmoen was originally charged with assault causing bodily harm, but today entered a guilty plea on the lesser charge of assault. His conviction follows a 2013 attack in Maple Ridge against a woman he met on Craigslist who was advertising escort and massage services.
Court heard that in the summer of 2017, a woman using a laneway had her tires flattened by a homemade spike belt made out of wood with nails in it.
That is in July of 2017, a couple of months after Tracy goes missing. For the spike belt incident, Sagmoen is found guilty of mischief, but given an absolute discharge. Outside the Vernon courthouse, on days that Curtis Sagmoen appears before a judge, protesters demand justice.
Gone but not forgotten.
We stand for no violence against women. The delay and the delay and the delay, causes pain, causes injustice for women.
No one really took Tracy's case seriously because she was a high-risk girl. I don't think my sister's the only victim in this situation. I think this is Picton all over again, and it's just closer to home.
It's been a really depressing couple weeks. I was really scared that I'm still scared that she might be there.
After combing through the land for 3 weeks, police returned the property to the Sagmoens.
The RCMP maintain the human remains found belong to one person only. No one has been charged in Generous' death. Even though the search is over, the Mounties say the investigation continues.
We're really hoping that they'd find all the girls there. We truly were. There's something going on in that community. There's something evil in that community. People don't speak there. People don't talk there.
Coming up, growing concern a serial killer may be preying on women in the area. Plus, shocking interrogation video. Curtis Sagmoen explodes when police bring him in for questioning. As more women step forward with allegations against Curtis Sagmoen, court hears alarming details about his behavior towards escorts, and police issue yet another unusual warning. We return now to Jules Knox and the Secrets of Salmon River.
Curtis Sagmoen's trial for assault causing bodily harm opened today at the Vernon Courthouse.
Another escort testifies that she's invited out to a rural property on Salmon River Road, but gets a weird feeling after meeting Sagmoen, so turns to leave. She says Sagmoen then gets on his quad and hits her square from behind so hard she flips over him. She tells court she was scared for her life. The judge finds Sagmoen guilty of assault causing bodily harm. With credit for time served, he's released from jail.
Any comment on the case?
The offense that first lands Sagmoen in jail and appears to trigger the search of his family farm also goes to trial. Court hears that 2 weeks after Sagmoen tries to run a woman over on a quad, a different escort is invited to a playdate on Salmon River Road. She says there is a rustling sound in the bush, and a masked man starts coming towards her with a wooden rifle. She jumps back into her vehicle but drives into a ditch and is forced to flee on foot. Court sees a photo of a bullet hole in the victim's tire and watches Curtis Sagmoen learn police are looking for evidence at the home he shares with his parents.
We've had to seize them under warrant. Hey! Sit.
By court order, Sagmoen's voice has been disguised in this video.
So, you know what?
Curtis, you need to calm down a bit, okay?
I'm sorry that I apologize for losing my temper, okay? This is the way I feel.
I understand you.
No, I don't. This is it. No.
Okay, Curtis, I can understand why you're upset right now.
Upset?
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not even upset yet.
Sagmoen pleads guilty to possessing meth, and he's found guilty of disguising his face with intent to commit an offense and using a firearm. With credit for time served, Sagmoen is out on probation. One of the many conditions bans him from contacting sex trade workers.
RCMP say that any person involved in the sex trade should not be responding to any requests in the Salmon River Road area, which is near Salmon Arm. Now, this is prompted by 39-year-old Curtis Sagmoen. This comes 6 days after North Okanagan RCMP say they received a report of a suspicious vehicle and people parked near a residence in the 2000 block of Salmon River Road.
The ladies actually came out from the car and talked to me and said that they were call girls and that they had been called there. They came at 4 o'clock in the morning and they were lost and the person owed them $1,500.
Shortly after that public warning, on October 29, 2020, Mounties show up at Sagmoen's home with a new search warrant. They plan to arrest him for allegedly breaching 2 court orders for using devices capable of accessing the internet. Police say that after some resistance, Sagmoen is handcuffed, But according to the Crown, he later lunges at an officer, body checking her against a wall.
Can you wait, please?
Sagmoen is then charged with assaulting a police officer. This is his lawyer, Lisa Jean Helps.
Do you have any comment, Curtis?
Sorry, he won't speak to you.
On November 1st, 2020, as darkness falls, protesters gather at the gates of the Sagmoen family farm.
All these women are missing, and there's no accountability for these women as well. And we want answers. We're furious. We're angry.
People know something. They need to speak up. Like they're saying the cops, the police, the officers, they're not doing their job. But how they could do their job if people don't speak up?
Like somebody holds the key somewhere along the line where these women are.
That was Curtis.
Curtis is outside?
Curtis, come on out! Come on out! Curtis! Come on out! Come on out! Come on out! Come on out!
I just miss my girl. I just want to know where she's at. There's hope. I have hope. Something will come about. I don't know when or how. I just know that answers are coming.
On April 26, 2022, the Crown suddenly drops the charge against Sagmoen for allegedly assaulting a police officer. That same day, police arrest Sagmoen again, this time for allegedly breaching probation, although the reasons for that are under a publication ban. While 4 of the missing women's cases are escalated to a specialized police unit responsible for investigating suspected homicides, Deanna Wirtz's file remains with the Vernon North Okanagan detachment. Police don't believe her death is suspicious. Her property is a stone's throw from the Sagmoen family farm.
They just think she just wandered off on her own. And that was the assumption they made, and that's the assumption they stuck to.
Do you believe that?
No, not for 1 second.
I would be extremely concerned as an investigator if that case came across my desk at the North Okanagan detachment, simply because of that proximity. There are so many times in these investigations that I have seen underreaction versus let's assume the worst and let's rule it out.
Laura Marchener worked as a detective on the Robert Pickton case, where dozens of women disappeared.
People who forget or ignore history are doomed to repeat it. Instead of sitting there twiddling our thumbs, oh, maybe she met some guy and took off somewhere. Oh, maybe she doesn't want to be found. Yeah, those things need to be covered off, but let's make sure that we're not missing a serial killer who maybe, unfortunately, has already killed that person, but maybe we could stop them from killing another one.
There has to be evidence to believe that her disappearance is related to criminality in some aspect. So if there is evidence in the investigation to make that determination, then her case may very well be turned over. But there needs to be that threshold that is met in order for major crime investigators to take that on.
Do you think that there could be a serial killer preying on women in this area?
Well, I haven't seen anything that makes me think there isn't. Unfortunately, this is what they look like, and this is what this case looks like to me. The uptick in the numbers of missing, the similar demographics in a lot of ways, and the proximity in a fairly small geographical area.
There are people certainly that want to link investigations, and you know, I understand that this has greatly impacted victims' families who think, well, this looks like this could be, and you know, I'm very empathetic towards them, but we really need to look at every investigation on the evidence that we glean over the course of that particular investigation and not be caught up in what has happened in the past. So if there was something that potentially we learned in the Pickton investigation that could potentially help us in another investigation, we would certainly be committed to putting those into play and using those moving forward.
I don't know how 5 women in one area like this could not be connected. There's got to be some factor. There's got to be something.
These cases to me are probably related. I don't know for sure, but I think even just purely because of proximity, it makes me think they're related. You've got a pretty decent suspect right on the doorstep, you know, rule him out and you know, then we'll talk. But there's still a significant number of senior investigators and leaders who believe that no body equals no crime.
Coming up, a body is found. Will it bring closure for any of the families of the missing women? A shocking new development. A body of one of the missing women is found. Will it lead to an arrest? Here now is Jules Knox with part 2 of the Secrets of Salmon River.
The lands of the Splatcheen First Nation stretch from near Enderby to south of Salmon Arm. The Eagle, Shuswap, and Salmon Rivers all meander through the territory. Splatcheen means riverbanks. The 5 women who are missing aren't all Indigenous, but their stories all have connections to this land.
There is a class race issue, and it affects non-Indigenous women when they come onto our lands. Anytime, you know, a non-Indigenous woman comes onto Indigenous lands and goes missing, she's treated like how an Indigenous woman's family is treated. They're likely not going to be able to proceed on her file because the resources won't be there. And I don't believe that they have enough resources, drive, or passion. I felt like I needed to take action, so we made a solidarity rally in the Okanagan. And that was the very first time, you know, and that was in response to Caitlin, you know, and then later Deanna and Ashley that had gone missing from the same area, you know, and as women, you know, started to continue to go missing, I just felt like we have to speak out, we have to do something. You know, people need to see women taking action.
Until the First Nations people stepped up, RCMP didn't take anything seriously. I don't understand why. They held rallies, they held their own searches, they did their drones. The work they do is incredible.
So 2 women there that were missing and still continue to be missing, and on this side a body recovery. There was a pit that was located below where Caitlin Potts, you know, was on again and off again living with her then boyfriend. A pit that looked very much to be like the square box of a casket. There was some matter that came out of the pit, a white slimy ball, and there was slugs clinging to it. When I spoke to people, you know, about what human remains look like, it's similar to what was pulled out of that pit. White, slimy, grayish, pinkish matter. That was shocking when it was discovered that the RCMP didn't discover this before. Caitlin had been missing, you know, 3 years by the time that pit was discovered. How could it have been overlooked? It was right below her property.
Police attend the site. They say the forensic team and lab find no evidence to suggest the pit is a burial site, and it's filled in. 8 days before Caitlin vanishes, she posts an Instagram video that appears to show her ex, Jason Hanatiuk, blowing her a kiss on Valentine's Day. She calls him an old love, now best friend. But the couple's history hasn't always been so rosy. A year and a half before that night of red wine and candles, Hanatiuk assaulted Caitlin. She's been missing for more than a year when the surveillance video is played in court.
After a year of not seeing my daughter and seeing that, I was shaking.
Hanatiuk is later sentenced to 14 months in jail for assaulting Caitlin with a weapon. Police will not say whether or not Hanatiuk is a suspect in her disappearance. We could not reach him for comment, But Hanatiak has previously said to the website Infotel News that he's been cast in an unfair way. He also pointed out that he's not facing any charges in connection with Caitlin's disappearance after being questioned by police several times. Year after year, John Simpson makes the journey from his home in Ontario to BC to search for his missing daughter Ashley, the 32-year-old who loved fishing. She vanished from near the Salmon River area in May of 2016 after a fight with her boyfriend, Derek Favel.
Yeah, I have hope of finding the person looking for my daughter. So every year we go out, we have a plan, we have ideas where to go, we have psychics tell us where to look, and every year we go there. It's the same thing. You look, it's not there. You look, it's not there. You come home empty-handed. And when you come home empty-handed, a little piece of your soul disappears. You gotta come home and you gotta face the people who had all this hope that you were gonna find, and you never did. We had a big bonfire as we celebrate Ashley's birthday. Ashley's favorite sign came up, very visible, a peace sign. A few days later, the police phoned.
The RCMP officer in charge at the time, she called me and asked me, she said, well, I'm going to be in the area. I'd like to stop by if that's okay. I said, sure, I'd love to see you.
And then when they came down December 3rd, she opened up the door, and both my wife and Kim started to cry. Kim said, we have something for you. And she had Ashley's rings that she had on her. So the ring that we gave Ashley, my wife's engagement ring, and Ashley's family ring, and she handed them to my wife. Then we knew then that they had found her.
They had went one day to search. All of a sudden, there was a beam of sunlight shining through the trees, she said, and that's exactly where they found Ashley, under that one beam of sunlight.
And they, at the same time, they said, Derek is being arrested as we speak.
On Friday, December the 3rd, 2021, the BC Prosecution Service approved one charge of second-degree murder against 39-year-old Derek Favel. Favel was Ashley's boyfriend at the time of her disappearance.
There's no more hoping that she may be somewhere else, maybe overseas, and maybe in a crack house, maybe in a brothel. You know, 6 years, almost 6 years, wondering where and what was finished. We finally got her home.
She wanted to make it home for her sister's baby shower. And I said to her, I said, well, I'll get the money and I'll send you a ticket. And she said, no, he owes me money and he's going to pay me back, and that's what I'm coming home with.
They're telling me she died that night. So there was no getting up in the morning and walking, hitchhiking. It ended that night.
Why? Why did you just not let her come home?
Police will not confirm when or how Ashley died, saying those details will be divulged through the court process.
My granddaughter, at one time, she used to cry. She said, Noni, I don't remember Auntie Ashley. And I said, when the time is right, Auntie Ashley will make sure you have all your memories. When they found Auntie Ashley, she said, all my memories came back. She said, it was like I had a movie playing in my head for hours.
We want to end this phase of Ashley's life and start on the justice part. I want this guy to rot in hell.
the allegations against Fable have not been proven in court. His lawyers say that all Canadians are entitled to the presumption of innocence and that they cannot answer any specific questions, since that may jeopardize Fable's right to a full defense and fair trial.
There are other families who are aware of this case and have wondered if their cases were connected in some way. While there are 4 other missing women cases that occurred in the Okanagan area within the years of Ashley's case, I can confirm that there is no connection or nexus to those other cases.
Do you think that Curtis Sagmoen knew Derek Fable?
I would be highly surprised, if the two didn't know each other, because they were neighbors, with similar interests, living in a similar area and working in a similar type of job.
Curtis would call people and they would come down. There's a bridge down there, and he would wait there to let them in if he wanted to, or then turn them around and have them go back up if he didn't want to.
On April 11th, 2022, police issue yet another public warning to sex trade workers to stay away from Salmon River Road.
Do you think that escorts are still getting called out to this area?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's pretty hard to believe that he didn't have something to do with this. I'm not saying that Curtis bludgeoned this girl to death and chopped her up in pieces and threw her in a hole. I'm saying that, Curtis knows what happened. And I think that it's not too far of a stretch to believe that there is other people involved. In the back of my mind, I just don't think that Curtis would be the only one.
Coming up, a plea for new information from families still searching desperately for answers. Time passes, but each of the missing women's families continues their fight for answers to this day. Will the land give up any more clues that could help them find their daughters? We return to Jules Knox with the conclusion of the Secrets of Salmon River.
They found Ashley and they found Tracy, so it gives us hope that she's going to be found.
This should not have happened. She should be at home with her children, raising her children. Please, if somebody knows something, please tell the RCMP. Until we have absolute proof, we like to think that she's still alive somewhere.
I still grieve. My family still grieves. She has a child who's still at a loss. It's still hard. The grief never goes away.
When her face gets put on posters, she's always classified as another Indigenous person gone missing. And that would upset her. Deanna wouldn't want to just be known as that. Sure, she has that ancestry, but it doesn't define who she was, and it doesn't just put her in a class of people like, oh, she's just another one of the Indigenous women gone missing. Like, no, she's a missing woman, a missing mother, a missing sister, daughter, loved one. Like, she's a missing person.
What do you think happened?
I don't know. I don't know. There's so many questions and scenarios that go through your mind. Did Deanna come across something in the area that she shouldn't have, and just wrong place, wrong time? Then at the Sagmoen farm was another road below Deanna's property. The police are saying none of them are linked, but your mind can't help but wonder. Or did Deanna go up into the mountain? Maybe she didn't want to be found. And then her dog was found at this property of a guy that she didn't get along with anymore, and she's missing, and he's defensive, so does he have something to do with it?
Those neighbors won't comment on whether or not the dog was found at their place, but say they have nothing to do with Deanna's disappearance. And to be clear, those neighbors are not the Sagmoens.
Do you suspect her husband at all?
At the time, you had questions for sure, but no. Overall, no.
Deanna's partner declined an interview, but says he didn't have anything to do with her disappearance.
I see her every week. I see somebody that looks like her and I think it's her and I almost want to call out.
She loved life. Like, she really did. She was very outgoing. She's such a free spirit, and we miss her a lot.
I want them to remember her as the bubbly little girl that she was, see? And the wonderful person that she was, how great she was, all the things she loved to do. Just the person that she was and the person that she could become.
Do you know how she died?
We haven't got a clue. We don't know how she died. We don't have an exact date. I understand that her body was in the ground for so long. There might have been some deterioration, so it might be hard to ever tell us what the cause of death is.
Do you suspect Curtis Sagmoen in this?
I certainly do. How would you not? I believe he's involved. Do I believe if there's more than him involved? There could be.
Do you think there could be more bodies on the Sagmoen family farm still?
It's a possibility.
Because you're front and center for most of the stories. What's the story like for you?
They're all hard. I'm sorry. I became a police officer to serve my communities. There is a certain degree of relationship that builds with the families themselves involved in these cases. I think missing persons is the one incident or the one type of thing that police investigate that I like to think for everybody or myself has always been a high priority.
According to RCMP, as of March 2022, there are more than 1,600 missing women and girls in Canada in open cases over 30 days. A disproportionate number are Indigenous.
What I've discovered in working with the families of the murdered and missing, not only are they dealing with their grief, all of the investigation or lack of investigation, but likely their families are being ripped apart, by the social and emotional impact of having a missing woman in their family.
The amount of people that have gone missing in this country is phenomenal. The lack of resources for those families is incredible. Not enough. There's hardly anything. There's none sake for myself because my child was over 18. There's no resources until they found her body.
To help others deal with their heartbreak, Ashley's parents are involved with Wings of Mercy, a team of volunteers using drone technology to locate missing people and offer help where needed.
Ashley and her story will forever live. She'll always be remembered through Wings of Mercy. We want to help other families in need of the same situation that we went through and know how hard it is and the lack of support you get from the government.
Caitlin Potts, Deanna Wirtz, and Nicole Bell have never been found. But, like Tracy Generous and Ashley Simpson, their lives and their stories will be forever linked to the lands where they vanished. And for now, the Salmon River continues to keep its secrets.
Curtis Sagmoen declined to be interviewed for this story. He has never been charged in connection to any of the missing women, and police have never publicly named him as a suspect. His lawyer did not respond to multiple requests for comment about whether or not he was involved in the disappearances of any of the 5 missing women. I'm Anthony Robart. Thank you for joining us tonight on Crime Beat. Want more episodes of Crime Beat? Listen to the Crime Beat podcast, now for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you find your favorite podcast. And for past episodes of Crime Beat, go to the Global TV app, visit globaltv.com, or check out our Crime Beat YouTube page.